Hello you German wereaboos, this is the Z52 German Tier 10 destroyer, and these are my first impressions. This is the first game I've played in the Z52. I do not have the upgraded torpedoes. In general, I find the idea of unlocking things on a Tier 10 destroyer, or a Tier 10 ship in general, to be kind of annoying. But either way, I haven't got them here. Not a big deal. The Z52 is a monster without them. Anyhow, we're on, I forget the name of the map, and we're going to be pushing into A to start off with. The team is a bit splintered. I don't think they really knew exactly where they wanted to go, although there is a pretty big emphasis on going C. Personally, I don't like C too much on this map. I find that it's an excellent place for American and British light cruisers to hide behind islands with radar, and I prefer to be able to at least see the ships that are detecting me with radar, which I can definitely do at A. Anyhow, I'm spotted for a second by fighters before I remember to turn my anti-aircraft off. The Z52's anti-air is actually pretty good, and I do have advanced firing training to increase my main battery gun range, which of course has the added effect of making the anti-air that much more potent. Be nice to have a defensive fire cooldown, but you know, the Germans' thing is hydroacoustic, not defensive fire, so it's not the biggest deal. Anyhow, more fighters have come off to my right now, and the Essex on the team is diverting a fighter squadron to assist. I'm going to turn my anti-aircraft on though, might as well, it's not going to hurt anything. So I'm going to smoke up because I really don't want those battleships to get some heavy caliber armor piercing into me, and I'm just going to start firing my armor piercing at this Iowa. You'll see a plane getting shot down as well. The anti-air, it can really do work if you spec into it in the Z52. Although I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. If you're really that annoyed by aircraft, you should probably just play the gearing. But either way, we're going to be getting some good armor-piercing salvos into this Iowa. Of course, it's German armor-piercing from a destroyer, so it's extremely good against broadside targets, even broadside battleships like you can see here. The high explosive is a little bit anemic, but yeah, you can make it work when you have to. Just, greatly do you prefer broadside and targets like this Iowa. Anyhow, you can see some torpedoes coming in there. That's actually the enemy Yugumo. He's hanging around this side of the map, and we're going to see more of him later. But I accidentally reversed out of the smokescreen trying to dodge some shells. I believe they came from the Iowa. But it doesn't really matter too much. I didn't move out the smokescreen, I moved out the cap. I'm very tired. But yeah, it doesn't really matter too much. We're going to get back in the cap anyway, so I'm not concerned. And of course we're shooting down more aircraft as they fly on past me. I believe they're striking on Dmitry Donskoy and our Izumo to the rear. The Izumo will be complaining quite a lot throughout this battle. He's not happy with the team's positioning over at C and the lack of support for A. Personally, I didn't mind it. I understood that the team was going to be focusing on the C point and were actually radared, I believe, by the gearing, the Des Moines, judging by the duration. I don't think it was the Moskva, although it's not impossible. The Moskva is also within radar range, or at least I think he was. I'm not exactly sure what the Moskva's radar range is, but I think he was within it. Either way, I'm going to be getting out of there because I really don't want to stick around with radar spotting me permanently. I'm going to take some armor-piercing shots as I hide behind this island. I'm actually going to be here for a little while now, and that's okay. It buys me some time to think about my next move, and we shoot down that fighter, and we're confirmed spotted by radar for just a moment more, and then we're invisible again. It's about now that there's the Yugumo. My hydroacoustic spots the Yugumo, and I see exactly what I'm dealing with here. The Yugumo is not a threat to a Z52. It's just not. You can actually see me reversing out here, which may have been a mistake. I do get a few shots into him, but I didn't really want to reverse out further, partly because the Yugumo had launched torpedoes, but also I was spotted, and that Iowa, I wasn't sure until I saw him fire there that he wasn't going to put a bunch of 16-inch shells in my arse and one-shot me, as battleships do love to do. Either way, I'm going to be taking some shots at range at him. I don't really think the Moskva or the Des Moines are in a position to punish me for this, so I might as well get any damage I can get on the Iowa while he's visible. He goes undetected, of course, though, but like I said a moment ago, I'm not too concerned about the positioning. We are effectively holding the flank here, which is good. The Z52 is more than capable of that with its fast torpedo reload and its excellent gun performance. And I was really just waiting for the team to finish up at C and then start pushing forward into B, which it looks like they're now doing. So I'm going to go into B with them. It's very important as a German destroyer that you read the flow of the map and you see exactly where your ships are going, where you're needed most, etc. The German destroyer, perhaps more than any other destroyer, has the influence to control the map. The Russians, to a degree, have influence, but they're limited by short-range torpedoes and a general just lack of stealth. They can very quickly move to either flank, obviously, but they are limited to a certain degree by those factors I just mentioned, which really don't affect the German destroyers, and the Z52 in and of itself is still pretty damn fast. Anyhow, I'm taking some armor-piercing shots at the Yugumo. I really should have been firing HE. At this point he is angled, but I didn't really think it through. I was kind of relying on German AP doing what it does anyway and just penetrating regardless, but that was a bad idea on my part. I really should have been firing HE. We're going to get a look at the Iowa again. I'm going to take a few shots. I really should have been firing armor piercing at the Iowa. However, it's not entirely bad that I fired HE. You will see me set a fire on him with the first salvo, which is great. But you will also notice that every HE shot I fire on this Iowa will shatter. You are going to see some penetrations in a second, but those are from the salvo against the Des Moines. And at this point I'm concerned, but not too worried. When I realised that the carrier was actually going for the Izumo rather than me, I was slightly concerned that I might end up being the focus fire target. And it's about now that I get my first opportunity to really make use of the Z52's excellent torpedoes, firing through the channel there at the enemy Bismarck. And the Z52's torpedo reload, you can see it there, 1 minute 11 seconds. Absolutely fantastic, and I haven't spec'd into increasing it particularly. I am using the Torpedo Armament Expertise mod 3, at least I think that's what it's called, that makes your torpedoes more likely to be knocked out, but drastically reduces the reload time, I think by 15%. But I'm not using the actual captain skill for it, so it's not really a torpedo build. I like to focus on my guns in German destroyers. The torpedoes are an afterthought to me, but that's just really the way I like to play. You can spec your Germans into a torpedo build over a gun build. In fact, many people would recommend that you do, because these torpedoes really are something. They don't do a lot of direct damage. You can see those 2 hits there to the Bismarck only did about 12 to 13,000 a hit. However, you'll also notice I've only got 20 seconds on the reload. These things reload really, really fast. Even without speccing fully into it, you can get an incredibly fast torpedo reload. I'm just thinking about possibly one of the Iowas, and the Des Moines shows up. He is, of course, going to be our priority target. I also let the team know after I torpedoed the Bismarck that he was flooding. It's very important, especially as a destroyer, but partly also as any class of ship, that you let your team know when you inflict critical damage like flooding on a target, and when he uses damage control like the Bismarck did there. You can see me in the chat use DC. It doesn't take a lot to just type that they've used damage control, and it's very critical that you do. Anyhow, the Des Moines just got deleted by the Izumo, and then I noticed the Fletcher for the Yugumo for a moment. So I popped my hydroacoustic after popping my smoke, and sure enough, here's the Yugumo. There's nothing he can do here. He can't even see me. This is probably what makes the Germans the best destroyer hunters. Just that hydroacoustic is glorious. Thank my teammate for complimenting me there as well. You've always got to be thankful when your teammates recognise a good play or something like that. And I'm going to take a few shots at the Iowas and the Bismarck. My torpedoes have of course missed. The Iowas weren't stupid. They knew exactly what I was going to be doing there. And I am firing HE, so I'm getting a lot of shatters on these Iowas and the Bismarck. However, I didn't really have the broadside angle I wanted to do large damage with the AP, so HE really was the best way to go there. I am going to be trying a bit of AP here, but it really isn't going to do much. I'm also going to launch some more torpedoes here. This is actually, it's meant for the Iowa in front. You can see him there, the Iowa on fire. But because of the close ranges with the Bismarck and the other Iowa as well, I thought maybe we'd be able to get hits on all 3 of them, so it was definitely worth launching. And for a moment I fuck up and don't realise my smoke screen's ending, so I'm spotted. But it's not really a big deal. I don't get punished too hard for it before I can jump back into smoke and hold my fire to stealth up. I only take about 1,000 damage. And looking at these torpedoes, yeah, that's going to hit the Iowa closest to me. That guy is doomed. And in fact, there you go, hit him square on the broadside. Now, I pop in behind these islands now because I want to reassess my situation and I want to stop those torpedo bombers from easily being able to drop me. So the closer I am to the island, the better it is and the more time it'll buy me. And while I'm reassessing my situation, I hit a torpedo on the other Iowa. I really wasn't expecting that, but it was definitely great to see. So I let the team know as soon as I realised that the Iowa is definitely flooding. I let the team know he's flooding rather than using damage control. I think he'd already used it for the fire. But the carrier pays attention to that and follows it up with some dive bomber strikes and a torpedo strike, ensuring the Iowa does not get to survive and recover any health. Excellent bit of teamwork there with Seaside George in the Essex. He's actually a fantastic player, did a lot of help for me in this game with air cover. It's always nice to see a good carrier player, and I think you do have to call out good carrier players when you see them, because God knows there are so many bad ones. He's actually driving off the dive bombers there. They've already launched, but he's driving them off anyway so they don't keep on perma-detecting me, which is fantastic. So at this point, the Fletcher's moved into A. I'm moving with him. I don't think there's any threat to me here anymore. The Moskva is in the area, but I'm not concerned. The Moskva no longer has the destroyer or the cruiser support that's I nearly said necessity. That's critical in order to take advantage of Moskva's short-lasting radar. If it was a Des Moines, I would be more concerned due to Des Moines' better rate of fire and longer-lasting radar, but it's just a Moskva, I'm not worried. I actually realised the Moskva radared the Fletcher and me here, so I'm just going to open fire anyway. It seems like he is prioritising the Fletcher. I'm not sure why he would. Once he's reset the Fletcher once, it doesn't seem to be a lot of benefit to him doing it again. He should be trying to reset me at this point. But I'm certainly not complaining, as the Fletcher gets to survive and I get to avoid being shot at for a while, which I'm more than happy with. And I'm not concerned about what the Moskva can really do to me here. I'm far more interested in essentially just killing the Bismarck. He's on so little health and he's a very important target. You get a lot of points for killing a battleship, and the quicker we can take him out, the safer I'm going to be here to engage the Moskva and the Yamato. Now, if you're looking at the map, and I get a very small map window when I'm editing this together, so it's hard for me to see, above the island to my right is the Musashi. He's actually going to be a threat in a minute, but I haven't noticed him until right now. Look around, there's the Musashi. I'm going to launch some torpedoes because... sorry, there's the doorbell. I'm going to launch some torpedoes because... they're never going to stop bloody hitting that bell. Because the Musashi appeared to be turning, and I thought maybe we can get some torpedoes on the broadside and possibly get a kill on the Musashi. Now that's when the Musashi hits me very heavily in the rear of the ship. I believe that was at least one penetration, possibly a couple of overpens. And the Yamato gets some hits into me as well with the Moskva, but I am in smoke now, so I am safe. Gonna take some shots on the Yamato, and that's when I realised by looking around the Musashi turned in the other direction and dodged all my torpedoes. A little bit annoying. It would have been nice to get some torpedo strikes on the Musashi, but it doesn't matter too much. We just fire some armor piercing on the Yamato and the Moskva before I turn around and look at the Musashi, but the point score has already told the story. Game over. So that was a pretty damn good game, I think. We shot down 13 aircraft. We did, I think, 116,000 damage as soon as it actually shows up. There you go. Actually, 119,000 damage and 3 kills. 2 base caps. I'm very, very happy with that performance. There we are at the top of the team with 1,942 base XP. I really don't know why I said it that way the first time. The Essex, who was a great teammate, Seaside George, is there in second place. And looking over the detailed reports, we've done pretty nice damage to the Bismarck. Some good damage overall, if we're being entirely honest, especially to that Iowa with the flooding doing a great deal. Shot down a lot of planes as well. Again, that's the influence of the AFT. Wonderful, wonderful little thing to run with. Flooding, 12,000 damage from flooding. Yeah, that's the Iowa. But you notice the armor-piercing shell damage compared to the high explosive damage. I know I shot a lot more AP shells, and, well, a lot more of them hit, but that is a lot of damage. A great deal of armor-piercing damage. And there's some good torpedo damage too, but the armor-piercing shells are really where the damage comes in the Z52. If you're a bit unlucky with torpedoes, like I often am. Made a profit of 130,000 credits, which is nice, but we would have lost money had this been on a standard account, which is just annoying. Really? Oh god, you can't make a profit in a tier 10 ship if you're not running a premium account. You just flat out can't. Either way, nearly 9,000 Commander XP and 4,500 Standard XP. I was very happy with this game, I think I said that already, but I was extremely pleased with the Z52, and it's definitely a ship I'm going to be taking out a lot more often in the future. It really is just that monster that I really wish all destroyers were, but, well, there's only one destroyer that can bring in everything to the table that the Z52 brings, and that is, of course, the Z52. Hello again, you wearaboos. This is my commander screen, obviously, for my Z52. Just want to go over really quickly the commander build that I use here. It's not finished. He is only a 15 point. Well, he's a 16 point, but I've only assigned 15, so by no means is this my completed build. I will be letting you know exactly what I'm going to run on my completed build, but that'll be in a moment. For starters, what I have now is priority target. I know a lot of people don't believe priority target is too important in a destroyer because you're running with the assumption that you're going to be shot whenever you're seen anyway, but I find priority target to be extremely useful regardless because I can tolerate 2 to 3 ships aiming at me, but any more than that and I need to know so I can conceal. So I find priority target to be of use. Most people will probably want preventative maintenance. I won't. Like I say, I do find priority target to be more critical, and I typically find that if I'm in a situation where I need preventative maintenance, I've already fucked up, so I don't run with it. Your mileage may vary, of course, but that's my humble opinion there. I do run with Last Stand, however. Typically I would anyway, but it's also partly to make up for the fact that I run without preventative maintenance, because this does mean that I'm going to have my modules knocked out more often, and I do want my engine and steering gears to be able to continue to operate even in that situation. So I'm also running with Survivability Expert. This comes into the way that I like to play the Z52 as a gun-focused ship, despite its brilliant torpedo capability. So I like to have the extra health pool to really beef it up, and Z52 does get a big health pool, so you can take a lot of hits, and Survivability Expert really just increases my ability to do that. I'm also running with Advanced Firing Training. This is really up to you, but I find this to be extremely useful. You may not, obviously, but I like the additional firing range and the additional AA gun range. The AA is very helpful, as you saw in the match that I'm well, as you will see in the match that's going to be in this video. The extra AA gun range means I can take out more planes more effectively, and that is helpful in a meta where at high tier, if you run into a carrier, not that you usually do, but if you do, they can really ruin your day if you don't have a capable anti-air suite. And again, the increased firing range for the the increased firing range for the main battery guns is very useful for me also, due to my playstyle revolving primarily around them, and not necessarily to the complete detriment of torpedoes, but yeah, I don't like running with the torpedoes as my main weapon. I do prefer having the certain reliability of the guns against the hit and miss chance of the torpedo. And of course, Concealment Expert, which is critical on the Z52. You do have a pretty big surface detect. It's not Russian, but it's certainly not fantastic. You are a pretty big ship, so Concealment Expert is definitely something you're going to want to pick up. As for the things I'm going to be running with, well, when I get my extra point, I'm going to be adding on Adrenaline Rush. That'll be when I get to 16. You can go for Expert Marksman if you prefer, but I find the turret traverse of the Germans to be good enough, and I frequently take a pretty heavy amount of damage due to my aggressive playstyle, so Adrenaline Rush is pretty critical for me, especially on a ship where the torpedoes really do reload so quickly. It's nice to get that down even further. After that, I'll be putting 3 more points into Superintendent. I don't think it's critical for me to get Torpedo Armament Expertise, despite how I was just talking about my love for increased reload speed on the torpedoes provided by Adrenaline Rush. I don't feel like Torpedo Armament Expertise is critical because the reload is already so fast, and Adrenaline Rush provides that extra reload to the guns as well, which I think is far more important. But yeah, no Torpedo Armament Expertise. A lot of people will tell you to run with it on a German, but then again you'll have 4 points more, I imagine, because most people won't run with AFT. But I'm going to run with Superintendent. The extra smoke charge is quite critical on the Germans because your smoke doesn't last very long, so typically you run through your smokes far faster than destroyers of another nation. And of course the extra hydroacoustic just enables you to do that much more when you're fighting against a DD, contesting over a cap in the late game points. It's very critical that you get that extra hydroacoustic as well. So that's going to be my final build. When all is said and done, priority target, adrenaline rush, last stand, survivability expert, superintendent, AFT, and concealment expert. Of course, like I say, your mileage may vary, but this is how I'm personally going to be running my Z52 commander. I hope that was a helpful quick look at the Z52's commander skills, and I hope it was a good look at the Z52 in general. Like I said, this is only a first impression, but my first impressions are extremely positive for this ship. It's been a long time since I've been able to so heartily recommend a boat at tier 10 without putting lots and lots of games into it the same way I have with the Hindenburg. Hindenburg didn't jump out of the screen at me the same way that the Z52 has. It's definitely right up there with the best destroyers in the game, if not flat out the best. Khabarovsk, different playstyle, but I would put the Z52 above it. Either way, just my opinion, but if you're a destroyer fan, get it. The German line will put you through a lot of pain as you're grinding up, but the tier 9 and especially the tier 10 here, endless amounts of fun. I cannot recommend them enough. Anyway, that's it for me for this quick Z52 first impressions that actually turned out to be a lot longer lasting than I really wanted it to. But the next video, we'll be taking a look at another destroyer that I'm very, very happy with. Not at all related to Japan or anything like that. Anyhow, I do hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next first impressions, or actually, let's be honest, it's going to be a full review. I've played too much of the ship for first impressions. So I'll see you then.